Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mandikubulise Mongameli, ndibulise Progressive Caucus, ndinibulise nonke malunga leParlamente. It is clear that unemployment, poverty are deliberately engineered to ensure majority of the people live from hand to mouth. Because when the majority of the citizens live from hand to mouth, their immediate occupation is getting their next meal and not fight for the commanding heights of the economy to be owned by the people. The Labour Department enforcing labour laws on all companies, whether it is in the hospitality, construction, farming industries, would significantly reduce unemployment. The PIC must fund manufacturing-driven initiatives. There can never be economic growth and job creation in a consumerism-driven economy. There are factories all around the country, Mr. President. They are lying idle. There are people who are eager to work, and there's a market for the goods. Why are we importing goods that we can produce in South Africa? Mr. President, our communities cannot be defined by alcohol and drug abuse. We have young kids drinking their future away because they've got nothing to do. There must be a heavy investment in sports and arts infrastructure in the townships and villages. We cannot accept that a black child is more likely to be exposed to drugs and alcohol than schools and sports facilities in the townships. The alcohol culture is stealing our future, and the government must act. Enyobeni and countless incidents of alcohol underage drinking are great examples of this. The government must take unpopular decisions and save the future of this country rather than being popular in a country with no future. There must be harsh penalties on anything that kills our children, who are the future of the country. It is an embarrassment that our kids died of food poisoning, yet foreign spaza shop owners were just requested to register. Mr. President, the spazas selling expired and fake foods will not, the spazas selling fake and expired foods will not be solved by registration. The solution lies in strict enforcement of immigration laws and mass employment of environmental health practitioners. Lastly, all progressives, we need to unite. We are unable to change the material conditions of the people because of our inability to unite. We may have ambitions for ourselves and our parties, but now is the time to center our politics on the interests of the black child. The Boers and the British united in 1902 to oppress the natives and created laws that up until this day benefit them. No matter how much they hated each other and how many people died in the Anglo-Boer War, they found it in them to unite so they can create a better life for their people. In these 30 years of democracy, it is evident we cannot undo the over 400 years of colonization and oppression without us uniting. Let us unite to expropriate the land our ancestors were forcefully removed from. The majority must own the mineral wealth, and we must transform the economy to ensure the majority, the African majority, enjoy a good quality of life. Generations after us must remember us as a generation that put the interests of the black child ahead of our own. Masimanyane mzi onsundu, siguqule impilo zabantu, singaphathwa ngondlebe zikhanya ilanga. Eli lizwe lolokhokho bethu, lelabantu abamnyama. Thank you.
Honourable Maimane, just a minute. Honourable members, please take your seats.
You are singing for supper.
Honourable members. Please proceed, Honourable Maimane.
Madam Deputy Speaker, President and Deputy President, honourable members of this House, Bagaetsu Dumelang. Mr. President, I think today marks 35 years since the release of President Nelson Mandela, an emblem that reminds all of us of hope, courage, and justice. It is these features that we must remind ourselves of in times such as this one as we confront massive geopolitical threats. Mr. President, your injunction for us not to be bullied is an important one. I want to urge, Mr. President, there are times such as this one we must remind ourselves to remain united as a nation. When others at this moment, when another murder takes place both in the farm and in the streets, we must remain united. When others say to all of us that the demand for justice as espoused in our Constitution is put on the table, we must remain united. When ultimately, Mr. President, there are those who seek narrow interests and find voices from elsewhere, we must remain united. And ultimately, Mr. President, when the hopes of one become the fears of another race, Mr. President, let us build one South Africa, for we must remain united. Ultimately, Mr. President, I listened with great caution to your speech. It was filled with much promise. But, Mr. President, I think we need to use Thursday as an opportunity to move from state of the nation to state of performance. There's a biblical injunction that says this, that a house built on sand cannot stand. Our foundations are in trouble, Mr. President. In all reality, when you look at the MTSF that was tabled, 25% indicates the achievements of the last MTSF. Here, Mr. President, we can't pass at 30%. We need a better performance on the next MTSF. Mr. President, our economy has been growing at 1% and social spending now consumes 60%. I want to urge that our debt is at 5.2 trillion rand, 74% of GDP. If we are going to show that we are serious, our foundations in building must remain strong. Mr. President, you highlight education as a success. I don't disagree with you on the path of the class of 2024. But I also want to remind you, Mr. President, that were we to pass our young people at 50%, 29% of matriculants were passed matric mathematics at 50%, only 30% passed physical science at 50% or more. This is an indicator of the fact that we are going to run short of the skills of the future. So, Mr. President, here's where I want to offer serious partnership. On the first instance, if you really want to see growth, let's cut waste. Let's ensure that we have the cabinet. And if we want 4,000 more police detectives, I say reduce the cabinet and fund the police. On the second instance, let's improve our transport infrastructure. On the third, if we are serious about fighting corruption, Mr. President, the SIU and the NPA are performing at 48% capacity. Let us bring this up to 100% and remove the corrupt elements from either cabinet and also at local government. Lastly, Mr. President, where there are institutions that are not performing, let us merge them so that we create SOEs that can deliver for all South Africans. If this is the year of anything, it must be a year of action. And Mr. President, I implore you, if we are going to be serious, let us build and let us build one South Africa together. I thank you very much.